5 NLP techniques to finally trick your brain into taking the action you have refused to take for so long at this point. When we talk about taking action or overcoming procrastination or overcoming fear in general, it is more specifically about fear usually, or about simplification. People who have something very big they want to attain or achieve used to overcomplexify it and make it way more difficult than it actually is. And if you're stuck on one specific step that you have never really crossed at this point, or you have just been stumbling upon the same block again and again, or you have been turning around the same thing and never really took action, it is most likely that this thing you want to do is linked with some emotional, bigger issue, something that you're really scared about, but that is linked with some other area of your life. For example, somebody who says, I can't just write for my next book, I want to write an essay and I just can't. Every time I am in front of the blank page, I just struggle and I don't know what to do. Most likely this means it is going to be linked to something deeper, something else that you need to uncover and heal potentially before you can take action effortlessly without having to force all the time. So the first big technique is something I personally don't like at all, and I don't like using it, but I know it works. I have seen it working a lot, and it worked on me too. I just don't like using it on myself. You're gonna understand why. Because it is about uncovering the most terrible, painful thing that would happen if you were not taking action. For example, you may know about this technique in NLP called the Scrooge pattern, which is about making the person see the most tragic, terrible, horrible future he or she might go through if he doesn't take action or if he doesn't change the thing he has to change. And then in the opposite, you make them see the reward, so the thing they would acquire if they took action. And when you do that under trance and you make people go into some intense visualization, they tend to really feel it much more intensely and take action much more easily, because they see all the mess that's going to happen if they don't pursue the thing they should be able to do. Again, I don't really like using that on myself, but I have used some slight hints of it with clients sometimes. Not going too hard on it. I don't like to make people into an intense level of emotional distress neither, but just a little bit, just to like poke the little limitation they are stuck with. And a lighter version of that could be simply, what's the most terrible thing that will happen? And you may not need to deeply visualize it and see all the sensations and make them come alive. Without that, just notice what is the really bad thing that's going to happen if you don't take action. And notice if that makes you uncover any kind of specific thing you need to do right now to break that blockage once and for all. Following that idea, the second technique that I think is lighter, and this one I like using much more, is still about fear, but about releasing the fear. Instead of painting the most terrible, outrageous, bad future possible, just notice the main basic overall fear that is linked with your project, and you have some sort of emotional release to take care of it. For example, the basic question is, what is the worst thing that could happen if you fail? Usually people have the fear of failure. They don't engage into action because they think, what if this doesn't work? What if I get this result? And I'm asking you right now, what is this result? What is the one result you are kind of uncomfortable with? The one result you are scared about, or the one result you don't really want to see happening? It may actually be something pretty terrible, but even if it is not terrible, what is the most likely thing that would not go well? And the next question to follow that process is to ask, even if that happens, even if this does happen, what can I still do despite that? It is just going deeper into the main thing that you don't want to look at because it's too terrible and too painful, and actually look into it and notice that it is, in 99% cases, it is not a case of life or death. Unless you are in the military, you are a police officer, then it might be. But in most people's lives, it is not even going to be life or death matters. It is just going to be one simple thing that 1,000 people have overcome before you. And trust me, most of them were not smarter than you, far from that. So then, if you know a bit about submodalities, you can just unveil that fear and notice the main picture you get from it. The main picture or the main sensation you get from the feeling of that fear. When you think about it, the worst thing that could happen, just notice where do you feel it in your body. You can link that with chakras maybe if you're familiar with it, or just notice the picture you get when you think about it, and then do all the classic sun modalities, change techniques, so you can put the picture in black and white and push it away further into the distance when you think about that thing you were scared about. Or you can have a deep breath and exhale at the same time. You imagine you puke out the bad sensation. Maybe you can in your mind create an image of that sensation, maybe a black sphere or a red triangle or whatever it is, and you imagine this object just gets out of yourself when you exhale. You can do that through meditation also, it helps a lot. Just any kind of meditative practice or almost self-hypnotic practice that's going to make you unveil all that fear. If you do it well, it is supposed to be happening only once. If you have to do it like 3, 4, 5, 6 days in a row, you're doing something wrong, you're not doing it strong enough, or you're not picking the right problem. You haven't been going deep enough. When we want to unveil the main fear you have, we really want to dig into what is the worst thing you are afraid of and what is it linked with in your life. The third technique is about simplification. As you may know, there is this concept in NLP called chunking down, which is also known in logic in many other fields. But chunking down means that you are going more specific. The meta model in NLP is all about this. You go more specific into what is the main blockage, what is the main thing you don't like about yourself, what is the thing you're scared about. Always going more specific into the main thing you can act upon. And here we just want to break it down. This is a technique here. Just break down the main thing you want to take action on, break it down into 5 easy steps. If you had to break it down into 5 easy steps, what would be the first one? Most likely the thing you are scared about doing because you're not really feeling comfortable or you don't think you are confident enough to actually do it. Most likely you are painting in your mind a giant picture of something extremely difficult to do all at once. This is what happens with everybody because we live in a hyper-consumer society where you are constantly being reminded, especially through social media, that you are never doing enough. You should always get what this person has, or you should be where this person is, and you're like never fast enough. So we are always conditioned to think we need to go faster and to achieve this big giant thing before that age or in such an amount of time, which is pretty much always bullshit because the people who have achieved anything big have done it throughout a journey, throughout their life, and some people are just naturally talented. So maybe some people will go super fast, but it doesn't have to be your case neither. It's completely okay if you are a normal human being and if you need like 5-10 years to do something big. Even if I can already know that what the thing you have in mind is probably going to take just a few months, but you may think that all the process has to be done all at once. So if you had to break it down, the main thing you're scared about doing, if you had to break it down into 5 easy and concrete actionable steps, what would be the first one? And I know from all those 5 steps, the 5th one may be like very difficult. Just take the first one. The first one, start from there, build momentum, and then go to the second one. When you take the habit of breaking down complex topics into easy, concrete steps, you actually build more motivation because you feel less threatened about the big main project at hand. Technique number 4 is going to be about creating links. You may be familiar with the concept of the mind map, where you just take one topic and you draw many arrows to just unveil all the micro topics, all the more subtle and smaller topics within that thing, and then each of those smaller topics you equally break them down into smaller chunks. What we want here with this drawing, for example, is one of the ones I use personally when I have something I'm working on. You just draw aleatory arrows, they can go in any direction. It is just to put as many things as possible, as many elements as possible, going from the main thing you want to understand or you want to improve yourself on, and you just draw as many arrows as possible and link in your mind all the things that you know can be related with that. Then you want to unveil as many as possible of the blockages. It is just about grouping together. For example, you can use colors, like right here, using colors to group together the main things that are related to each other. What you want here is just to unveil the main blockage you are not seeing. probably there is something holding you back, but you want to use as many words and descriptions to explain it, otherwise you will just be running into a wall non-stop again and again and again. This is all about clarification. When you have in your mind a better clarified model for what it is that you are going after, it is way easier to take action because you are much less threatened and scared about what is this big thing? Yeah, I must do everything at the same time. You will actually have much more ease to do it step by step and to notice the more concrete, simpler things you can do right now. But this model is really useful. I have been using it quite a few times, may even still today, whenever I am trying to unveil something that seems too difficult or something I'm confused about. This is another big one. When you are confused because you have too many options and you just don't know which one is the right one, use this model just to write all the things you are thinking about and then just group together the main areas, the things that go together, along together, and then notice, based on my goal, based on my overall goal, what is the most important right now. You can prioritize. When you have everything laid out in front of your eyes, you can much more easily prioritize and notice which one is the first one I must go after right now. And finally, technique number 5 is about challenging the main excuse or limitation you are giving to yourself, even unconsciously, to not do the thing you are supposed to do. You can challenge evidences, causes, or limiting beliefs by asking yourself, how do you know that? For example, if I was asking you right now to outline the main reason why you are not taking action on the one thing that is totally important for you in your life right now, what is that main reason why you are not taking action? And then I will question you, how do you know that? Look up here. How do you know that? Then what evidence do you have for that? So it's most likely going to go down to because somebody told me, or because I look at other people more advanced and I feel like I am not worthy of it compared to them. It's always going to be some bullshit evidence, or most likely also something bad happened in the past and I don't think I'm capable of doing it now because something else happened, or because the same thing I tried before and it failed, but just something happened. And the next question in that process is, what if this was not true? What if this had never happened? Or what if those people were just wrong, the people who told you you couldn't do this or that? Or any excuse you have about, I am just a disabled person, not if it is a physical case, but if it is like you think you're mentally retarded because your teachers told you something that is just not tangible, something that is purely mental, and that is the excuse you give to yourself, like I am not smart enough, or I am not a talented person, I am not a smart person. All those things, just question what if it was not true. And most likely an answer is going to pop out of your mind when you think about that. What if it was not true? Then I would what? You would do what? You would think what? What would you think about yourself if this was not true? The main excuse you are giving to yourself for not acquiring and achieving what you want. And then the question I ask all the time in therapy about this is, what would you do then? So the person gives me an answer, and then what stops you from doing it instead? What stops you from doing this instead? The thing you just gave me as an answer for what you would do if you were not being limited, then what prevents you from doing it now? Actually, because if your mind can generate the idea, you can actually do it. And if this thing is too big, you can go back to technique number 3 and break it down into 5 easy steps. With those 5 techniques, this whole overall model, there is always one of them that's going to hit the main missing link, the main missing point you need to take action on the right things.